Hello, it is I, Chris Brogan, CEO of Owner Media Group, and also online as Rob Hatch in case we need him. And so in case he jumps out, you don't have to be worried about that. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Surviving in the Choose Your Own Adventure Economy. One thing I wanted to say is that this is recorded as we often do. If you have any questions that don't get answered during the live experience, feel free to drop me a line, chris@ownermag.com. You can ask me anything. I want to go over really quick what the topics are for tonight. The rundown for tonight is I'm going to provide a battle plan for improving production. I'm going to give you high performance training mindset information, how to brand yourself for success, how to prep your website to maximize business opportunities, how to create a media empire to communicate. Man, I put a lot in this thing. 5 ways to maximize your time at live events. And then sort of the real secret of how owners grow their power base. And your questions. So feel free to ask questions. If you are here live, there's a little Q&A thing on the GoToWebinar side. If you are not here live, well, you can drop me a line, chris@ownermag.com or rob@ownermag.com if you have anything for Rob. So what is this choose your own adventure economy? So to me, what's changed a little bit in the last little while is that a lot of people have decided in some way or another to be a lot more entrepreneurial. And this just wasn't an option back in the day. There just wasn't much of a chance for people to pick anything other than doing jobs that other people were doing. Or, maybe there was some level of entrepreneurship, but we were mostly guided towards the system of grow up, go to school, finish school, go to higher learning, or, get into a trade. And so now there's this whole new avenue of business all opened up, mostly due to innovations in and around the internet. So that includes things like payment systems. So now anyone can take payments from Square. It also includes things like the ability to quickly set up a website and build your own shop. So there's a lot of ways you could do this. There's a lot of chances for people to choose to go out on their own and run their own business. But in the process, there are also opportunities for us to have challenges with that. And I'm going to guess, and you can answer in the Q&A section if you want, I'm going to guess that a lot of people who are involved in this webinar today are part of the experience of feeling a bit challenged by this, feeling like that there's not enough hours in a day, feeling like there's a lot of different things to chase, feeling like you have a lot of opportunity and then sometimes not enough opportunity, and that it's always kind of a feast or famine thing. Is that something that you're experiencing? Are you getting that sort of experience? By all means, feel free to answer in the Q&A section, or by all means, drop me an email if you have any questions about that. So for our own sake, one of the things that happens, for instance, when we choose to run our own business is that we are in control of our own sales, our own marketing, our production, and all that. And what I find, and I'm seeing a lot of, is that people are really kind of gravitating towards whichever piece of that puzzle that they're stuck with. Thanks, Richard. Good to know. So whatever part of the puzzle you're stuck with that you like is the part you cling to a little bit more. So for instance, I'm going to guess that a lot of people are maybe not necessarily the best at sales. And thank you, Tom. I'm glad you're here, by the way. I think a lot of people aren't maybe necessarily good at sales. A lot of the people that I seem to gather to me aren't especially great salespeople. They may be good at marketing. They may not even be great at marketing. They may be good at putting information out into the world and wondering how come that's not turning into business. But whichever one that we tend to do is usually the one that we feel the most confident and all that. And what the problem is with that, of course, is that to run our system, to run our business, to choose our own adventure, even if we're still an employee somewhere, we really have to get a much more holistic view of everything. We really have to do all of those pieces. But I think that's part of what takes it on. One interesting piece that Rod says, and I want to bring it up because it's something that Rob and I have talked about a few times lately. There's just so much content to read to tell you how to do X that it keeps me from actually getting started. I've had that said to me a lot of times lately. And so for instance, when you realize that there's kind of a hole in your system, you suddenly go, I got to go find something to do. And there's mountains of things to do. And for some reason, it doesn't always translate into taking an action. I had a bunch of people today, I'd asked the question to a few different people, hey, what's going to stop you from taking my online courses? And one person said quite officially and honestly, they said, I am afraid that I'm not the kind of person who will actually do something with an online course. I'm worried that I'm going to just take the information and then not do something with it. And I'm wondering if you felt that way too. Alex says, I feel that too, totally overwhelming. Sharon says, I totally agree with that. I need to be able to learn by osmosis. Well, So part of what I wanted to put together here is, I think we hide from our weak suit, and I think we also set our goals far too low. And then the other thing we do, and I'm curious to know your take, I think we tend to seek a comfort steady state. We seem to look for where we feel comfortable and then try to get there. So if, for instance, we get a client, then we stop looking for more clients. We're like, okay, whew, got it. Good thing, I'll work on that client. And if our business needs more than one client, then we're doomed. By the way, people who are working with clients or consulting or anything like that, one of the things that I really need to tell you is that not any one client of yours should be more than 15% of your revenue. That way, if you lose that client, you can retain 85% of your revenue. Pretty important. Yes, I was really comfortable and got lazy. Oh, did that bite me as well, Melissa? It wasn't that I exactly got lazy. I just really believed that the system was just always going to work the way it was supposed to work, and that entropy never happened, and that we would never go from, what we had going to what, to where we are now. I mean, my mom is on this call, and she could tell you back in the day, holy cow, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. And then it suddenly wasn't that way, and we had to work for our business. And yes, like semi-retired good buddy Ferg. And or if the clients decide to move on and then suddenly you're burned. And that's happened a lot. So we need to set up some systems to get that going. And part of that is to look at our production capacity and all that. So one of the first things I wanted to show you is a battle plan to production improvement. And first off, I want to talk a little bit about what the owner's life and the owner's mindset is. And why do I run a company called Owner Media Group? And why do I intend that you are involved in this webinar are owners? And I believe you are. You can tell me otherwise. The concept of owner isn't that you own your own business, although you may choose to, but you own your life. You are choosing your life. You are choosing your goals so that you're hoping to own your choices, own your life, own your future that way. And in that process, you are saying, I refuse to just lean back anymore. I'm going to take the actions necessary to get to where I need to go. I'm going to do the things that need doing, and I'm going to pursue that, even though I know that, it's going to make us get outside the comfort zone. And that's really, I think, an important part of ownership. I think that it's really important to look at how that all works together. So with the owner's life, what we decided to do, I'll tell you quickly about the course by this name. We decided that there was sort of a journey, a hero's journey, if you will, that takes you from the concept of how do I set up a good base camp mentality? How do I get my head around what is the base camp? Then how do I put my backpack on and act as sort of an individual contributor? And then how do I look at things from the mindset of a king or a queen? Let's not worry about gender, but I say king for ease of use. But how do I look out on my kingdom? How do I look out on this space that I have to rule? And in the process of doing what we've been doing, we've seen that there's a whole lot of people who are really uncomfortable on the concept of kingship and what they need to do to really own the whole terrain, the whole map. But we said, oh, well, then we better step back and look at what it takes to be an individual contributor so that you better understand all the moving parts of your business. And yet what I found is that a lot of people's base camp, meaning your own personal capacity, your own ability to get into the mindset of growth, your ability to build understanding amongst your teammates at home or around your business, or the other kinds of people you need to interact with in your life, is causing problems as well. I'm curious if you're feeling that. So are you feeling that the other people in your life are either A, they don't understand where you're coming from, B, they're telling you, you did this before and you failed, so you're probably going to fail again, so you're having a little motivation challenge. C, they're getting sick of all the hard work you're putting in because it's not coming to you fast enough. You're not making money fast enough to please that other person. D, they're a little sick of eating ramen noodles and they're telling you maybe you got to get back to work and take a day job. Or maybe things are just brilliant at home and the problem is just inside you. And maybe you haven't really put yourself into that mindset that you are ready to just go and get into a more performance-based mindset. We call it, we're a professional development company, but what we're looking at is performance improvement. So one real big difference between how a lot of other people do what they're doing is, for instance, if you attend other webinars or you go to other courses or whatnot, they're going to tell you the 7 secrets to make Twitter work better for you. That's great. What I'm looking for are performance improvements. I'm looking for parts and measurable parts of your life, in business or life or all of the above, because to me, there's no balance or difference. It's an alignment. I'm looking for ways to move a needle for you that gets everything else going a little bit further along. By the way, hells yeah, I hear option C just inside me, which is awesome. C, they appreciate I'm trying, but they don't believe it's going to happen. Oh man, have I ever heard that before. Not just the other person complaining, but self-doubt. Holy cow. Oh, you might be taking away from your kids by doing the work. Well, I mean, absolutely, especially if we're managing our families and our children's, it's a real trick. But it's amazing how many people answered that right inside themselves, there's a lot of stress and pressure. I'm going to say that some of that stress and pressure is good. We just have to sort of separate that out. So the owner's mindset, the whole path of this owner's life thing is this idea of moving from this concept of a base camp to a backpack to a map. So one thing I want to give you right before I give you this performance improvement battle plan is the knowledge and the idea that instead of just grabbing and learning and trying and flailing and going all over the place, that if you start with the idea of what do I need in my base camp? And by the way, I highly recommend paper notes for some of this. I think that I'll give you two things to think about. And this goes into the battle plan for productivity, but paper notebooks changed my life because there's something that we do different on paper that we don't do. There's two things that we do different on paper that we don't do in computer software. So in computer software, I can hide your notes behind a tab. I can make them not important anymore in the crazy real estate of your system. And that's a challenge, right? All of a sudden, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If I have the notebook on the corner of the desk, if I have paper on the corner of the desk, you can see it and it resets you and reminds you. That's number one. Number two, something to do with the kinesthetic action of moving your hand is a huge, important brain connection. It tells your synapses, very something important because my hand is moving, and it helps you remember things better, and it helps you commit to those things better. It's not that I'm, some Luddite. I use tons of software. I'm going to tell you that the software that I like to use, besides Evernote, I use Evernote to dump things that I might need to remember or storage of information. I use Keep, Google's Keep, keep.google.com, to keep very important notes that are smaller notes like mantras. I'll talk to you a little bit about how I use those a little bit. If I forget, remember to ask me a question about mantras later. So here's the thing about the battle plan for production improvement. I can promise you a few things that you are doing on this call that I am not doing. One is you are scheduling your day to 100 or 110%. I am not. I schedule my day to 40%. That means that if I have something go wrong, I have time to get it done. Your computer does not run well at 100%. It'll die very briefly and need to be rebooted if you run it at 100%. Your car will explode if you run it at 100% for more than 5 minutes. You can run on a treadmill for 100% of your capacity, your 100% of your capability for just a handful of seconds, and then you're going to wheeze out and you're going to have to slow down again. Nothing in life does great at 100%, and yet most people put their schedule to 100 to 120%. Stop it. Stop it. That's the very first piece of the battle plan. You have to understand what kind of inventory you're working with. And if you schedule your time to 40%, then you have time to deal with problems, mistakes, issues, and anything that's going to come up. You might be going, oh my God, I'm already so busy right now. You are so busy, you are not productive. I had a girl tell me at a party one time, I was talking all about how much I love Camaros. I've got a Camaro, la, 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 la. She's like, I'm a European kind of girl. She says, the reason that American cars are so stupid is that there's all kinds of engine, but they can't transfer the power to the ground. The wheels don't do enough with that engine power. So I have a 426 horsepower Camaro. The wheels make it stupid, evidently. That's what she told me. She says you need to have better traction from the engine to the wheels. You need to have something that's going to guarantee to use that power. That's what you're doing wrong. When you are so busy, that doesn't mean you're productive. It means you're busy. And you are getting into that weird masturbatory experience of checking things off. I did a lot of things today, so I must be really good. If it is not income producing activity or life developing activity, it is not for you. The other thing that you need to look at really quickly is that with regards to what you're working on and with regards to what you're trying to get out there, we need to take a different step at how you're getting to what your goals are. First off, one of the things that Rob does in Work Like You're on Vacation is he makes sure that you are doing your planning and stuff the night before. So you don't start the morning saying, what should I do? You start the morning saying, I am ready to go and execute on my plan. And so just 1 second, I'm just making sure that this doesn't make noises. The next thing you want to do is this. You want to look at something to set your goals and priorities, your big mission priorities in front of you every day as you're trying to work on your plans. So for instance, I use Grant Cardone's 10X rule. Grant Cardone says that one of our biggest problems in life is that we don't set goals that are 10 times higher than what we should set, and that we don't give 10 times as much effort to go after those goals. So he says, if you're saying, I want to make $500,000 a year, he says you should make that goal 5 million. He says, put the goal at 5 million and then you're going to work for it. You're going to do a lot better. If anyone just fainted, I can tell you already that the process works. So one of the first things to your production battle plan is have 10 or so goals. You could have less than that, but you want to use these as sort of a guidelines to where you're heading in life. And so my 10X goals, one of them is to be a $40 million company. I'm not even a $4 million company yet. That's a huge stretch goal of where I need to be. But I'll tell you, when you ask the question, what's it going to take to make me a $40 million company? The answer is remarkably different than what should I do today? Follow? That's part number one of this whole productivity thing. So set 10X goals is your thing. 10X meaning for 10 times. The next thing to do is make sure your daily priorities are tied to your mission. What is your mission? Your mission is your undying explanation of how you serve the people that you serve. So it is a mix of what your capability is, who you serve with that capability, and what you're sort of bringing to that puzzle and how you go about that. So the mission isn't like one of those mission statements that gets lost somewhere in a dusty journal. It is something that you live and thrive by. You can go to chrisbrogan.com and my mission, the outward expression of it, is right there on the site. You can't own your business until you own your life. I equip owners. That's my mission. I start everything in my day with looking at that mission and looking at my 10X goals, because from that, then I figure out that maybe going to take an hour's lunch with somebody so they can pick my brain is not equipping anybody. That doesn't help me. That doesn't get me anywhere. Brain picking, I'd rather pick my nose. It's not for me. It might be your business model. You might get lots of business from it. And if it's part of your mission to get out there and let people pick your brain, have a ball. But you are wasting time. And one of the things I can tell you from the very bottom of my heart is that we treat time as if it's infinite and money as if it's finite. That's reversed. That's reversed. There's only so much time. You are blowing it with time. Money, we can make more money. I had the best month ever in August. I had the third best month ever in September. And here it is October. And it's like, oh, money's tight again. I'll fix it. It's all good. Money can be fixed. Time cannot. Deadlines cannot. All the stuff you're using your time for is the problem. You with me so far? Somebody talk to me in that question and answer. If you're watching this the next day, talk to me in email, chris@ownermag.com. One other thing to add to this. Right after I figure out my priorities, right after I look at my priorities, right after I look at what my 10X goals are and where I think I need to go, the next thing on my list right away is obligations. I hate obligations, but sometimes we have them. We have clients, we have customers, we have people we said we'd do something for. Yes, I'll write the forward to your book. Yes, I'll audio record the forward to your book for your audio book, blah, blah, blah. Get your obligations on there. One thing that can help you with, this is performance enhancement, just absolute gold. Once you see all your obligations written down, you realize what a dope you are and that you need to say no more often. You have to look at those obligations and say, wow, no wonder I don't have any time to do what I need to do. Okay? So get the obligations written down. Also, it's going to help you. Good to hear, Kate. That matters. Do I set 10 10X goals? You can. I think that there's definitely a very important, there's kind of a threshold, but I have 10 10X goals, and they relate to things like the three pieces of my life that matter the most to me, which is me and my family, me and my business goals, and me and my personal goals, my fitness goals. I'll get right into that next, because right after obligations, the next piece of what I schedule is called 4 rings. I sometimes call it 5 rings, but the 5th ring is technically for absolutely unimportant things. So let me just sort of review. So if you were looking at this, and by the way, inside the courses, the owner's heart, the owner's mind, the owner's path, we have a really neat little planner thing for this. People in the owner's path current version have probably seen this already in some form or another, or if you were on the Get on the Path webinar. The concept is you write your mission down. You may or may not write what your day's mission is, because that's sort of like what your operational or tactical mission is for the day. And then I put my four rings. So ring number 1 is you and your higher power. That might be your fitness goals, your health goals. It might be that you've got to get to the gym, your higher power. So meditating, praying, whatever you've got to do. If you're atheist, then it's, maybe reading a good book. But what you've got to do is you've got to start with you first. Put your own mask on first. This is the biggest change I've seen to most people working better and prioritizing their schedule is if they put themselves first, if they pay themselves with time first, they do much better at helping other people. Sometimes it's hard. Oh, but my kids wake up and I have to handle my kids. Get up earlier. You need 7 hours of sleep. I love sleep. 7 to 9 hours is great. Get up earlier. You can do it. So number 1, you and your higher power. Number 2, the people closest to you. This is your family, but it's not all your family. It's not every single cousin. It's not Uncle Jed. It's the ones you love the very most. My children, Jacqueline, Jacqueline's daughter, my parents, Jack's mom. That's about it. That's my family. That's who's in that circle. Anybody else blows up, I feel bad, but not as bad as circle 2. I make sure I do something for circle 2 every single day as well. I talk to my mom every day. I talk to, obviously, Jack. I talk to the kids. I do circle 2 work every day. Next thing, circle 3. Those are the people in your Manchu. Manchu is an Okinawan word. It means one family. It kind of means the family you choose. These are your mentors, the people you love, the people you care about. I will get to the Manchu a little bit later as well, but I do something networky wise with my Manchu every single day so that I make sure that the people that I'm going to be able to help and that I can help grow and that are my mentors and that I can help them in some way are going to get some value out of me all the time. And I don't necessarily talk to every person in my Manchu every day, but I have sort of a rotating schedule to make sure that everyone is kept warm. This is a magic layer in this process because what most people do, believe me, I am on the recipient end of this all the time, is once you need something from someone, you go, oh yeah, that's someone. And then you reach out to them and ask them for something. Guess what? The last time you reached out to them was to ask them for something. And there's a span in between. You might have forgot that, but that person didn't forget that. 4th circle are your clients. Now, why are clients 4th in this whole thing? Because you have to serve you and your higher power first. You have to serve your family. You have to make sure that they're okay and handled before you go to war. Circle 3, your allies, right? You need allies around you. If you don't have allies, you're fighting solo. Only in weird movies does one man face the world. In the real world, there's always a team. There's always a team of some kind. And if you aren't seeing that, it's a perception problem. It's you. And then after that 4th circle, which is clients, you have to do client work. It's very important. I will tell you another quick secret to be making your production work better. Do not start the day with your inbox. You've got your little rectangle right by your head. I'm going to just check and see who's written to me lately. The email inbox is the perfect delivery system of other people's priorities. You set priorities, not the inbox. You see this, Durga, there's a problem. That's going to set you off to go do their thing, not your thing. You set the priorities. So do not make the email the first stop of the day. Ditto Twitter, ditto Facebook, ditto any comments on your blog. Stop it. You can get to that, but not until you set you up. Basecamp. You set you up. You put your framework together. You put your head on and you put your mask on and you start the day. This is a huge productivity growth. I promise you, follow those steps. You'll go through it. It'll work a lot better for you. Let me see where I am on my little list. Schedule to 40%. We talked about single tasking, English language. Single tasking. Stop with multiple tabs and doing multiple things. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Stop it. It doesn't work. Science keeps telling us it doesn't work. Stop doing it. You have to do one thing at a time. I know I know, I love multitasking. I love having 20 tabs open. The brain cost of switching those tabs a bunch of times causes you a problem. The brain cost of having to think about all the different pieces of what you're working on causes a problem. One slight exception, because we're looking to find how to use our day better and find our time better, sometimes we throw away 5 and 10 minute scraps of time. We say, it's just 5 minutes. We'll just do this thing. We'll just wait. It's 10 minutes. You're standing in line at the grocery store. You read People. Oh, horrible idea. What's in there? Well, I mean, besides, best and worst dressed. You have to use your time better. And part of that is what I call time quilting. What's a quilt? A quilt is a collection of scraps of fabric that had outlived their usefulness, put back together again to make a blanket, and that blanket is valuable. So that value comes in scrapping all those pieces together and doing something with it. I use Evernote for that. I use Google Docs for that. I have stuff started so that I can go in there and do some work. I have OMFG to write until the end of creation. So I go in and I write 2 or 3 of those if I'm standing in line at the grocery store. Or I check Twitter and make sure I've responded to anyone who needs a response. I do things all the time where you waste that time because, again, we treat time as if it's infinite and we treat money as if it's finite. Switch it, okay? There's a question that was from Michelle. She says, what do you tell yourself when you don't reach your 10X goals? My question is feeling like I've failed as far as reaching too high. All right, first off, if you don't set your goals high enough, you are never going to try enough. You have to set your goals way over what you could possibly accomplish. And knowing that you can't possibly accomplish them, you've got to reach as high as you possibly can for it. It is amazing what you can say to yourself. And I will tell you this, your mind will always quit before your body. Your mind will always say, that's enough. That's enough. I'm done. I did it today at the gym. I had to get 100 repetitions of something and I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker and I didn't really want to do the last little bit. And so I said to myself, you know what? I bet you could just get 25 in this last little bit and then get another 25 and then it'll be faster that way. But that's going to be harder because you're going to do 25 in a row instead of 10. Wham! Next thing you know, I got 25 twice. I shouldn't have been able to do it once, but I did it because I wanted to get it done. So goals are like a horizon, always going towards it, but never actually getting there. Kind of. I mean, I'd love to get to 40 million, but the path to it is the hard work. I mean, remember this, your day is your week, is your month, is your year. How you spent today, what you put in your mouth today is why you are fat. It's not because magically the fat demon shows up and stabs you. You ate something stupid today. That's what made you fat. You didn't do the gym like you said you were going to. That's life. So goals are all about what your execution on the day is. You set up your base camp, you go out to do your training. We are going to be high performance training minded people. That's part of what this whole planning thing is. So now let's say that we've gone through all this. Now let's go into the concept of a high performance training mindset. First off, the difference between learning and training. Learning and training are 2 different things. The difference is that learning is just picking up new bits of knowledge. Training is when you have a mission in mind and you are doing something to equip that mission. You are working towards a set of goals. I think I'll learn Spanish is learning. I have a lot of customers that I think I can pick up in South America. I'm going to learn Spanish is training. Training is daily. Training is on the same level as eating and sleeping. Eat, sleep, and train are all the same. If you didn't train today, but you ate and you slept, you're doing it wrong. That's the plan. Quick question, side note. What do I use to track tasks and projects? Everything I've ever used to track tasks and projects, I have done very poorly. I use that priority system. You can use, if you want software, Trello is nice, Podio is nice. Don't care. Once you get into the minutia of tracking projects, you are most often going after some trickier stuff. I think it's a challenge. Let's see. Do you feel like you need to learn and train to continue to be the expert? I try to keep reading and staying up. Nope. I think that is a huge mistake. People trying to stay up on an industry fail all the time. I think there's a very few exceptions. Rod is on this call right now. Rod is a CPA. Rod has to keep all the laws right current because his job is to represent people that need his expertise. There are very few times when very few of the rest of us need that. I mean, if you're really good at open heart surgery, there probably are some new techniques that come along, but a lot of your existing techniques are the ones that you use. Most of us don't have to keep up. I can tell you where you can find a lot of time. Stop reading all the blogs. Stop it. I found that when I stopped subscribing to 98% of the blogs that I was reading, that you're going to share with me the stories I need to know. Dropbox had its password hacked. Great. I heard about it. I didn't have to read any blogs. I saw it go by on Facebook. I'm done. I didn't read 25 stories to get to that. We are chewing through time to try to be the expert. You don't have to be. What are you looking for? Performance improvements. What is this whole call about with me and you? Performance improvements. If you execute on just a handful of the things I set up in this call, you just set it up and do it, you will see improvements. You will say, wow, that's crazy. I did that thing you said and it worked exactly like you said. I had to modify it a little for my life, but boom, I got somewhere. That's what you want. And that's what your clients want. Your clients don't want you to know everything. They want you to make them better. If I go to an accountant and the accountant fails me, that drives me insane. If I go to a doctor and the doctor doesn't diagnose my problem, that drives me insane. I just need to be fixed. I don't need them to know everything. I just need them to fix me. We're in the world of Google, baby. Everyone can read. High performance team training mindset. So I said learning versus training, working out versus training is the same thing. I went to the gym with a friend. He said to me, I don't know. I just walk around in a circle and just use all these machines. I think that's how a lot of people are doing their life. They're just like, well, there seems to be a circuit of some kind. Do not go wherever the road may lead. Go where there is no road and leave a trail. Ralph Waldo Emerson, right? You've got to set down the mission. This is the thing that we talk about in Owner's Path, which is way down the line now. You've got to understand that there's the game as you think it's being played, and then there's your game. And you always have to overlay what you need to get done, because what you perceive to be the system around you is rarely what's really getting done. So I say this is, learning versus training, working out versus training. You are training to some set goal. Once you set a goal in front of you, I will run a Spartan race. I will lose 30 pounds of fat, whatever that goal is. And once you stick right hard to it and you say, this is it, hell or high water, then you're training because you're on a path, you're on a mission. Rob is a triathlete. Rob just finished his first marathon. That's on his way to a big Ironman-sized triathlon. So that's training. He's got a system and a plan. If you're not doing that, you're just kind of shooting around in the wind. I mean, you're not really part of the system, are you? And you haven't created your own system. So what are you? Kind of like a blip somewhere. As part of this high-performance training mindset, the next thing to really adopt, is a no excuses mindset. If you look even on the hashtag for no excuses, what you're looking for is getting it done no matter what. When you schedule your day to 40%, you can get it done no matter what. When you start not taking on obligations all over the place, so you actually do have some capacity to do the work that needs doing, you can have a no excuses mindset. How do you start to write 4,000 words a day, which is what I do when I'm writing a book? I write 2,000 to 3,000 words a day when I'm not writing a book every day. How did I start? 300 words a day. Just a little more than one page a day. Then 500 words, then 1,000 words. That's it. You train for it. You train and you have no excuses. Did you get your 500 words today? No, I didn't. That is never going to come out of your mouth. You get it done. Unless you've been blown up. And if you've been blown up and your thumbs work enough that you can tweet, hey, I just got blown up, start writing. You have to have a no excuses mindset. This is about commitment. And I will tell you one important thing about commitment. Commitment is love of yourself. Commitment is tied to integrity and is self-love. If you are not keeping your commitments, you are having an affair on yourself. You're cheating on you. You don't even have to wait for someone else to betray you. You betrayed you. Commitment is honoring what you said you intend to do. It's honoring your intentions. So first off, don't commit to things you can't commit to. Don't commit all over the place. Don't say, I'm going to do this, and this year. That's 10x maybe, but just commit to that. You're going to work towards it and train it. But whatever you commit to, I'm going to eat a certain way. And if Reese's aren't in that eating a certain way, don't eat them, because it's just the same as like making out with somebody else at the bar. Honor your commitments. And when you are not, it is lack of self-love. And you have to visit that right away. You have to visit that, because if you can't love you, you can't execute on all the other stuff you're doing. I know for some people on this, you were saying, oh, that's wishy-washy. It's true. The people who aren't feeling comfortable at this moment are people who are dealing with fear. And there's two things you can feed, fear or courage. And whichever one you choose to feed, that's who's going to win. Courage is learning how to love yourself and learning how that's going to help you succeed. And that's part of the high performance mindset. Keep your commitments. The other thing is to remember that every time you stumble, this was a question earlier, what if you fail, or I hate failing? First off, learn to fail, love to fail, fall in love with failure. Failure is an opportunity to keep going. Every day is day one. Oh, I dropped off. Damn it. Start again. Day one, day one, day one. Every day is day one. Start. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not the top of the month. What the hell are you waiting for? Time is finite. Money is infinite. Time is finite. Every day is day one. That is high performance training. Okay. One last piece. Action versus procrastination. I will tell you a magical secret. A magical secret. Take action every time you feel like procrastinating. Run into that, because there's two things that make you procrastinate: absolute fear or absolute inability to do what comes next. Either way, take an action. If you don't know what to do, find the answer. If you're just, I haven't filed my taxes because I started becoming a consultant and I didn't know what to do, talk to Rod. Talk to anybody. Say, I don't even, where's the first place I even look? Is there a book I can look up? Can I go to Amazon? Can I go to YouTube? Start somewhere. Action versus procrastination wins every single time. Conversation we had very recently. We were scared to death of what the outcome was going to be. The outcome was way better than we could have predicted. The stress and tension that came before that was earth-shattering. And all we needed was, once we got the action in place. Now, in this case, we weren't procrastinating. It had gone over the weekend. We didn't have our choice. But what happens is procrastination builds in fear, builds in all kinds of power, adds all kinds of weight and volume. Have you ever not done your laundry for a bunch of days? Boy, I have. All of a sudden, you have to do crap tons of laundry instead of just a little bit here and there. Oh, but I hate doing laundry all the time. When you let it pile up, and you hate it more, right? So add to your discipline pile. This is high performance mindset stuff. Next, let's move on to sort of branding yourself for success. First off, what people do wrong with branding is that they worry too much about who they are and who they're going to be and what they, how they matter and what they're going to reflect and whatever. I'm the such and such person, or I'm the purple guy. There's a lot of the people out there, right? What do we most want in a brand? We want our problem solved. If you want to brand better, answer how you solve people's problem. What's it say on my website right now? You can't own your business until you own your life. I equip owners. You're in there. The word owner is you. I am working for you. How am I doing it? I'm equipping you. What does that mean? Oh, I don't know. Courses in my case. Courses, education, webinars like this. I'm helping you own your life, thus owning your business. I'm helping you with business success. That's what I do. So in my branding, when you ask anybody out there, hey, what's Chris Brogan do? You get a whole bunch of weird answers. He was that guy that wrote those books. Fine, good enough for me. What it was is whatever helped them. Chris is this guy who I met at this conference, and immediately he started introducing me to other people, and I really felt like I belonged. Great. I would love to be known for that. Chris remembered my name when he saw me at a live event, and I never forgot that. Beautiful. That's great. That's your brand. Your brand, though, just to give you a better understanding of how to do branding and what it matters and why it matters, inside out is where you need to really approach your branding, because branding is the outward expression of your internal mission. A brand should be very much in alignment with that mission that you intend to share with the world. So, for instance, if you are the person who is dedicated. I had somebody say to me today, repeat that please. Which part? Your brand is the outward expression of your internal mission. And it has to be a brand of service. It has to be selfless. Not I am this and I want this and this is what I want of the world. This is how I serve the people I serve. Bringing voice to people with disabilities, showing people's disabilities as an ability. There are many ways to look at this, but the real goal is what you do for others in service of others. The way I say it is like this. If this is a ship and we are all on a ship together, mission is the mast, service fills the sails, and content is the drumbeat that keeps the story going. The content in this case is an expression of your brand. My podcast, The Owner's Mind, is fuel for owners. We have a thing on Facebook now, facebook.com/ownerfuel. It's just little inspirational things and whatever. Owner fuel. It is what we do to keep branding by showing people what we believe and what we believe will help them. The best brands in the world are the brands that help us. What is Zappos brand to you? They'll take anything back. They have an insane customer service. Anybody talks about Zappos talks about great customer service. That's the brand, not shoe company. They hate to be called a shoe company because they sell other things supposedly, but I don't use them for that. What's Amazon? Biggest store in the world. One-click buying. These are things that we use it for. This is what we care about. Whatever Amazon says they are is a whole other matter, right? Branding is what someone does for us. Branding is how people talk about you when you're not in the room. Branding is what value you deliver to other people. So if you want to work on your branding and you want a strong approach to branding, you've got to tell the story of your mission and how you best serve others. From this, we go into the concept of how to prepare your website to maximize business opportunities. I'll give you a hint. The brand was the very first part of that. You bring up chrisbrogan.com right now, wherever you are. You can, you know what my face looks like. Swing over to chrisbrogan.com. You can look at it and you can see right away a bunch of things. My human head. You can't own your business until you own your life. I equip owners. It's huge. I made that thing so big. Even if you look at it in a mobile device right now, you're going to see that it is a big piece of the content. The reason I did that is I want it very explicitly. What do you do? Then if you scroll down, everything, every element on my site is built to do business. It's built to sell you something. It's built to put you on a path. It's built to get you somewhere. Boom, a pop-up comes up, says, get on my newsletter. It's because the newsletter is the best thing I do. It is also a great way to keep the conversation going about the brand. Nothing on my site that you click will take you away from my site unless there's value delivered for both of us. I make money and you get some kind of a service or tool that you want. I promote Rainmaker on the sidebar. Rainmaker is how chrisbrogan.com runs. I'm thrilled that I have it. I promote a few other pieces of software. Go get them because that's how I run my business. And if you want to use the stuff I use, that's what's on the sidebar. All the other stuff in the middle is my stuff. Here's what a lot of people have on their website. Follow me on all these social networks. Woohoo! Vanish. You're going to go away and get caught in ADDville. Ads. Great. If the ad is just kind of a random ad server ad, though, people are just going to go off into the wilderness and not come back again. If that's what you want, if you just wanted the 2 pennies, go. Another thing that's all over people's site, all kinds of weird social proof. As seen on Oprah with a link to Oprah. Don't put a link to Oprah. First off, she doesn't care. She's not looking for your link juice. She's got better link juice than you. Second, if you send people away from your site, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go away from your site. Don't give people things to click that they're going to go wandering off into the wilderness unless that's where you want them to go and unless you both get value from that exchange. The other thing to prepare your website for success, make your about page a very personable thing. If your human head isn't on your about page, unless you're an e-commerce site, and maybe even if you're an e-commerce site, what are you doing? Let people see who you are. Humans have only one built-in thing, and that is to look for faces. We only have that built-in trait. There are no other built-in traits. Horses are built knowing how to walk. We have all kinds of things that we want. Humans know how to look at faces. That's all we know how to do. Partly because when we're born, we're looking for faces because we want milk. We know it's that far below. We're looking for smiles or scowls because we want to know friend or foe. Most of everything in our system is built for, are you trying to kill me? When we wave hands, this gesture means I don't have a sword in my hand, so I'm not going to kill you, right? So put your face on your about page. Once you have all that great information about who you are and how cool you are, write it all, by the way, as how you serve somebody else. Make sure they can contact you or take a next action at the bottom of the about page. On your primary site, bring up your website on your computer or your phone, step back 15 steps and tell me if you know or if you can guess what you think I'm going to click on first, because you want me to take one action on your primary website. And hopefully that ties to your mission and your brand. Hopefully it ties to what you're doing to solve other people's challenges. Are you going to tell me right now that that's how your website is built? Is your website built to convert for just one particular action? And again, if you're e-commerce, then maybe no, unless the action is shop like a fool. But for the most part, people that I'm lucky to talk to right now probably have a somewhat schizophrenic website, don't you? Create a media empire to communicate. The one big difference I have in how I got to where I got versus where other people can learn something from my example is that when people mislabel me as some kind of social media guy, or they say I'm some guru of PR or something like that, none of this is true. First off, I have absolutely no credentials in PR. I make the top PR lists all the time for no good reason. What people really are saying is, wow, Chris really leverages these digital tools to build relationships and make business happen. And that I can say is totally true. But I use the tools to make business happen. So with regards to creating a media empire, I do a few things. I'm going to talk you through really quickly all the different pieces I've put together. I have a blog, chrisbrogan.com. If you scroll way down to the bottom, there's still a blog there. I use that for Google. The reason there's a blog at all is so that people Googling something might find my site and go, oh, I should get involved. I have a newsletter. The newsletter is not the rehash of the blog. It is all unique information. You get it on Sunday. Everyone here gets it. The experience with the newsletter is the gold. It is the number one thing that I do. Now, it doesn't have to be your number one thing. It is my number one thing because inboxes are a lot more emotionally attached to us than our blogs. I have a podcast, Owner's Mind. I do sometimes use YouTube, and I think that I use it poorly, but a lot of people can really benefit from using YouTube. Pick a few that you like. I was at an event called PubCon, and they were saying, you know what really gets a lot of traction? Pinterest. And I sort of smiled politely and thought, Pinterest? What the heck? I don't use it, but I'm going to look because I'm going to trust other people. Maybe you love Facebook. The one thing you can't do is make any of those other things your home base. Here's how the whole system works really simply. This is covered in our Digital Channel Mastery course, by the way. You go out to the outposts like the social networks and you promote your content. Your content exists in some form or another on your platform. So it could be on your podcast. It could be, through some other station. It could be on YouTube or whatever. But that content then guides people back to your home base, which is your primary website, for taking action. And that's another way to survive this choose your own adventure lifestyle and economy, is that you've got to make sure all those pieces connect that way. You can engage on the outposts on the social networks, but you're trying to guide people to your content. The content is going to guide them to some kind of conversion that you want them to take, whatever that is. From there, you can do business. That is another way to survive and make some revenue. We're going to go into Q&A really shortly. The other thing I said I was going to give you is 5 ways to maximize your time at live events. Let's do it kind of lightning round style. Number 1, prep ahead of time. Start searching hashtags, anything to do with the event. Go to search.twitter.com, go to Instagram, start looking around for anything you can find before you're going to an event so that you can understand who's going to be there, who's talking about what, who seems to be more connected than other people there, so that you can ahead of time start to make connections with people before you've even shown up at the event. Number 2, when you go to an event, make sure that if you're scheduling time with people, that you're scheduling brief time with people more often than not for your business. You're shooting for coffee. You're shooting for getting together with people for very brief things. Oh, I'm so sorry, video people. I just had a calendar shoot up in front of my screen. You are shooting for as brief a meeting as you can, 20 minutes or something like that. Not because you're a jerk. Time is finite. You have to get to as many things done as you can at a live event. If you spent thousands of dollars to fly somewhere, if you have spent the time, learning all you want to learn, it is not to go to the sessions alone. It is to connect with people. So it's important to do that. Third thing to do is always figure out a way to follow up if you want to follow up. Don't hand out your business card like it's confetti. All you're going to do is people are going to add you to their newsletter whether or not you're supposed to. It's against FCC standards, but hey, people don't know. The next thing you want to do instead is ask for business cards from people that you actually want to pursue and follow up with so that you have in your hand only the cards of people that you want to follow up with. And by the way, if you get cards that you don't want to follow up with the person, put them in a different pocket so you can sort those later. Where am I? I think I'm on number 4. So number 4 is make sure that when you're at these events that if you have the opportunity to meet and gather with people and talk about things, don't waste your time talking about the weather. If you're shy, it's totally fine to be shy, but ask somebody something that's germane to what you're working on. I always say bring 2 questions with you. Bring a question that might help you and bring a question that might help somebody else. And so you might be thinking the whole time, I'm going to just get to know these people. I'm going to ask them lots of questions about themselves, which, by the way, for shy people, it's a magic trick. Just talk to the person about themselves. What you can then do is when you're asking them those questions, you could be thinking in your head, does this solve any of my problems? Yes or no? And is this something that I can give to somebody else? Can I introduce them to somebody else? I do this all the time. When I meet somebody new, I'm almost immediately thinking, who should know this person? Who should know this person? And then that kind of cool stuff happens. Usually, I'm also lucky to meet people that already know somebody else. So I'll go to an event and I'll meet Joe Hall, and he'll be like, "Of course I know Natasha," and then I don't have to do the introduction. But hey, that's what happens. It's because she's the queen. The very fifth and final thing is to always make sure to, when you're having these interactions with people, make sure that you know, if it's not working for you, if nothing's working for you, just excuse yourself. Just be like, "Hey, it's been really great talking, really great catching up. I've just got to hit the restroom. I'll catch you later," or whatever. You can get out of things. Think of it as like mental speed dating. Don't ever feel obligated. This goes to probably one of the weirdly most famous quotes of mine all over the internet. Don't settle. Don't finish crappy books. If you don't like the food, get up and leave. You know, if you are on the wrong path, get off it, etc. I think this is true of that as well. So we've come to the end of the scheduled stuff. I want to do Q&A. The only other thing I want to say too is that I want you to consider getting on the owner's life cycle with me. The very first part of this is the owner's heart. There is no special offer per se. I think what Rob and I decided to do is that once a month we'll actually gift you a free webinar. But besides that, the cost is the cost for everyone. Owner's Heart, you can go to ownermag.com/OH to check it out. You should just throw the bookmark up now, even if you don't want to look at it yet. ownermag.com/OH is the Owner's Heart. That is the first of 3 parts of our educational system for the owner's life. So the Owner's Heart is talking about building the base camp. Some of what we covered today is expanded upon in there, and then there's just a lot more. With regards to Owner's Heart, we talk about growth, which is, you know, your whole training system and mindset, understanding, which is about your perspectives, as well as gaining understanding and figuring out other people around you. Teamwork, which is how do you work with the people around you, and how do you build confidence in and amongst yourselves, and as well as the others that you have to work with. And service. So this, of course, lines up as guts. So there we go. And so one question that just came up, which is a great question. I already bought the Owner's Path. Should I be waiting on that or starting with the Owner's Heart? What I've been telling people is go all the way through the Owner's Path if you purchase that. And what happens is when you come back around and start on Owner's Heart, it's $99 a month. When you get to the months that do the Owner's Path, you'll just stop being billed. You know, you'll just be getting the courses because the Owner's Path is, you've already paid for it once. You don't have to pay for it twice. So that's how that works. But wait till you finish the Owner's Path, because if you've started on the Owner's Path, you're probably struggling with the same challenges a lot of people are. Well, what's going to happen is once you get to the end, you'll have a certain level of perspective. You'll bring it back to Owner's Heart, and you will see a whole new way of the Owner's Path when you get there again. And by the way, it's a whole new version of the Owner's Path. So I think you're going to find it working rather well. Same question. I'm in the process of blogging the masterclass. You could totally do that if you want. You could finish it. Owner's Heart will be there for a while. Don't worry. It is the primary thing I've built, because in the process of doing all the stuff I'm doing, there are things like the blogging course and the love letters and work like you're on vacation. All these things that we've put together are really helpful and directly helpful for very specific things. But what we've also done is we've tried really hard to answer the questions that we're getting. And I think that one of the big challenges that we're running into over and over again is that the people who are asking me for technical things are quite often, I can help them and solve those problems, but it's a small, they're sort of saying, you know, my house is falling apart. Can you help me reshingle the roof? And I'm very happy to do that. But I think that what we've come to learn is that we think the Owner's Life work that we can help you with is going to help grow all of your business stuff. By all means, take all my digital courses and all the stuff we do for the digital channel. But I think that it's Owner's Heart should be showing ownermag.com/OH. I've always read that it's important to be able to demonstrate social proof. You're saying it's not that critical? No, you can show social proof. I'm saying don't put links to it to send people away. It's very important to have social proof, sure. But most people do it like this. I'm a top 5 blogger on such and such blogging site. And there's a clickable button that sends them off to the blogging site to say, who else is the top 5? That's what I'm saying don't do. It's amazing how many people's site looks like a NASCAR race ad, and you should get it off to the sides. So ownermag.com/OH. And you want to check that out. I am open for questions and answers. If you are getting this not live, you totally can participate. Email chris@ownermag.com. Again, the deal to join the Owner's Heart, I really want you to consider it. The reason is that if this resonated with you tonight, and I can tell you that the Q&A section, people were just filling it with, yes, 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 I like this, blah, blah, blah. If it resonated, then that's what we're doing much more deeply. And can you handle an online class? Yes, you can. Is it easy to manage? Yes, it is. How much time is it? 1 to 2 hours a week, period. The things you implement might take a little longer, but the learning would only take you 1 to 2 hours a week. And how is it delivered? Via email mostly. There's some video. What happens if I want to pause? Then you pause. We have all kinds of mechanisms to make that work. Anything you have for questions about the owner's heart, which is the first of the 3 educational pieces for the owner's life, drop me a line, chris@ownermag.com. Q&A, fill that question box with live questions and I will answer them. And like I said, if you're not here, you can go to something else. I must have rattled your brain with all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm going to take a big sip of chemicals and you tell me what I can do to help you. That's a good question. There's one in here that was just saying that, what's the difference between owner's path and all that? So as I said at the beginning, the owner's path is something where we built a course on what it's like to be the king of everything. How do you run all of the systems from the top? And what we found is that helping people work on their mission, helping people work on how that mission applies to their day, how that works on the game, etc. I think that we took a bigger swipe. Thank you, Michael. I think we took a bigger swipe than we thought. We thought people were going to be all comfortable with that, and people weren't. They wanted to understand how more to be an individual contributor, and they wanted to understand how to get themselves ready for the whole journey. And that's why we built out what we built. In event marketing, people talk a lot about back of room sales, yet you seem to not to do that. Any reason? You know what? I've always found it kind of cheesy. I got to be honest. So I am always selling. That's the one difference. These people who do kind of back of room sales, they do their little speech and they say, I'll be at the back of the room selling my course. It always feels weird, right? It always feels a little bit like a carnival. I want the relationship to start with you getting my newsletter. I want you from the newsletter to come to a webinar. Once you come to a webinar, Rob and I were having this conversation. I'm trying to disqualify you. I'm trying to prove that you shouldn't be here. I'm trying to have you say, I don't know. I don't want that kind of success because it sounds like I'm going to have to work for it. And that's great. I don't want you to participate if you're like, I can't stick to a plan. I had a guy, it was really the weirdest thing. I sent an email to a bunch of people saying, how come, what can I do to get you to join my Blogging the Masterclass course? And this guy says, well, I'm already taking this other guy's course. And I said, well, then why did you come to my webinar? Why did you pay $20 to come to my webinar to learn about blogging? That's like checking out a pretty girl when you get the wedding ring on. He said, okay, touche. I'm not getting what I want out of the course. And I said, well, is that you or is that the course? I erred on the fact that it was probably the course, but Rob says maybe the person just doesn't like it. Kate, I love the suggestion of not checking email first thing in the morning. Can you say more about the practicalities of this? Yeah, don't look at your phone. It's really hard. Do you tell your clients messages will be returned during a certain window of time? Oh, I hate that. There is nothing I loathe more than getting that bounce back that says, you're not that important to me. I'll get back to you when I feel like it. There is no instantaneous response to email requirement in the universe. When you write back is when you write back. And if it's not fast enough, one of two things will happen. The person will go ask somebody else. They will not need your answer anymore, or they'll think you're a jerk, or they'll say, I got the answer when I needed it, which is a few days later. There is no requirement from the universe that you have to answer right away. I loathe when people send that. Thank you for, sending me this email. In an effort to serve people better, I only check emails twice a day. I wonder if they can poop on a set schedule as well. I often wonder that. I wonder just how regimented their day is. I think it's a horrible idea. Don't do that. What I mean is don't look at your damn phone. We sleep with our phones right beside our head like we are superheroes or brain surgeons, and nothing's coming. You're okay. Unless you're a brain surgeon, then maybe you should keep the phone by your head. But I think that the thing is, so when I wake up, the very first thing I look at is I look at my little mantras. I'll show you really quickly. I think my phone still has some battery. I pop open Google Keep, which has little notes on it. And no, I won't really read them all to you, but one is some goals. One is what I got to do today. Part of that's my gym stuff. Part of it is some commitments that I have. Part of it is my 10X plan. So for instance, my 10X plan is my training and media company brings in $40 million a year. So I have all kinds of actions written down on the right that are going to help guide me to that. I have first, second, third, and fourth circle notes in here. And I have a whole system written in as to what I do when I need to reframe myself. I like how you model all of this effortless connection. You know, the tricky thing about effortless connection is, I'll tell you a secret. Remember I said earlier, like love is a problem and you have to love more, and that's why you're having a problem with commitments. Fear is your other problem. You are afraid. And when we feed fear is when we do all the dumb things we do. That's when we over-explain stuff. That's when we over-explain our client information. That's when we worry that people don't think we're smart enough or good enough or something enough. Fear drives all that. If you can chip away at fear, and this is not, I mean, we're at the end of the webinar, so I'm not going to start a whole new webinar on fear. Besides, no one buys webinars on fear. I sell them, nobody shows up. When I want to talk to you about how courage works, once you chip away fear, everything gets better. Everything gets better. Once you can be really who you are with some slight parameters, just a tiny bit of shaving, then it works a lot better. But people don't do that because they're so afraid that they're going to be perceived as wrong, bad, stupid, or whatever. You know, it's amazing how many people have that particular mental trigger inside them. I'll tell you another little detail. Once you know your trigger, once you know the number one thing that triggers you to take bad behaviors or do whatever you're going to do or whatever, life gets amazing. My number one trigger is feeling invisible. If something happens in which I feel invisible, I will want to make all kinds of bad behaviors happen. Because I know this, what then happens is I don't do that. And then magic happens and I can get back on my path and all that. What's great is that knowing that saves me a lot of issue. I'm still doing Owner's Path, so should I wait until I finish that before doing Owner's Heart? Yes, that's the answer that I gave a little while ago. Yes, indeed. I'm also doing love letters and blogging. All right, stop it. Just finish all your courses. Do all the work. Finish it all. Implement it. And then you can come back. Don't start anytime sooner. We learn a lot when we're not training. So are you training? Have you lined this up to a mission? Do you have a sense of what you can drop? That is where the time comes back, and that's where you can start focusing on income-producing activities. You start dropping things all over the place when you are ready to commit to the things you're going to commit to serve your mission. And that's where all the time comes back. 3 or so more minutes, we can do a couple more questions, and then we're going to close this baby down. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to throw them in. Like I said, chris@ownermag.com, and also please consider joining me on the Owner's Heart. This is the number one thing that I'm doing. It's my whole focus forevermore until it's not my focus. But this is the big thing. So ownermag.com/OH. And you can start looking at the Owner's Heart. It's $99 a month. There is no change in the pricing. That's about $25 a week. That is a Chipotle dinner. So if you were telling me I cannot afford that, you're saying I can't skip a dinner at Chipotle once a week. You can afford it. You maybe have to decide whether or not it's what's going to help you, and if performance improvement and high performance business is what you're looking to do. Some people aren't. Some people are like, oh, it sounded like a lot of work. I don't want to do it. But that's all the deal is. So the whole Owner's Life series goes about 10 months. Owner's Heart is the first part of it. I think it's 12 weeks or 6. I always get it wrong, and then Rob laughs at me. But it's many weeks. So it's the whole thing goes across 10 months. So over that time, you'll have spent $990. Sue Zimmerman is selling an Instagram course for $997. So an average course out there in the universe is around anywhere from $1,000 to, unless you go to a community college, and then you can pay $2,500 to learn Microsoft Excel. I like your enthusiasm today. I got a lot of insight. Thank you for sharing. I like you, Patsy. Thank you so much for saying that. Okay, listen, I'm sick of all you. Get out of here. We got to go do some work. Drop me an email, chris@ownermag.com. I love each and every one of you. Let's get out. I appreciate your time and your kindness. Goodbye.